welcome. Hello, everyone. This is Apostle Baby Linda James, your favorite apostate. Welcome to the show tonight. Today is October 18th, 2025, and we're getting into the fall season and feeling the difference in the weather. Earlier today, I had a chance to go to an Jehovah's Witness meetup, and I haven't been to one in years. And it was pretty cool. It was very cool. There was somebody that I've known for a long time. His name is Land, and he was there. And I know JP. He's called in a few times, and so he was there as well. And then I got to meet some other people. And I'm bad when I first meet people. I forget names. But yeah, it was pretty cool. I really enjoyed myself. We have Matthew here today as well. And welcome, Matt. How are you?
Good to be with you all.
Right on. So far, today is also a day that there's been some protests happening. The No Kings protest. So far I haven't heard of anything negative happening yet, but after dark sometimes things do, so we'll just have to wait and see. And the idea behind the No Kings protest is the people that are protesting have the impression that our president is acting like a king rather than a president, so they're protesting about that. And also about some of them are against ICE. And I do know that there does need to be something done regarding the borders. And I think what's happening is, and I can't speak for everybody, but what we've been viewing as far as how ICE will show up places and take people, it's been very traumatizing for us to watch. As a matter of fact, I just got done reading a book about a gal who once worked for ICE, but this was like over 20 years ago. And it was a very, very interesting book. And by the way, those paintings behind Matthew, he has painted those. Those are his. Those are his artwork. Hello, Bro, and I think John was here earlier. And Dehydrated Nurse. Hello. Somebody's saying hi to John. So let me see if I got all the.
You got Dallas, Dehydrated Nurse. Grow, I think, wants to go and rest.
Grow, yeah, sure.
Wishing Grow some good rest.
Yeah, you can do that, sweetheart. Definitely. You clicked on the link and it had no chat room. You know what that was? That Dehydrated Nurse. I did this last week. And I freaked myself out. Because I think it was 2 weeks ago. So that is Vern's channel from Fixing My Fate. He's also playing this live on his channel. And then plus I get to play this live on my Facebook page. So I guess it was 2 weeks ago. There was some trouble with the sound. So I think it was Matthew and I were deciding to kind of exit and come back in. And we were just trying these different things. And hello, Amber. And so when I tried to come back in, I opened up the one that was on Vern's channel, and I saw no chat, and I just freaked out to know, and like, how the hell did this happen?
Right.
Jack Composer and Mama Bear. Good to see you guys. And that's what was up there. I was not on this particular chat. Matt had asked, how did my week go? And I said, pretty darn good. It was boring and not much drama. And I think the older I get, the more I want less drama.
Yeah.
Less drama, save it for somebody else's mama. Because I'm
bring us stillness, you know.
Say that again, what?
I said, bring us peace, bring us stillness.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, and that to me brings me the greatest peace when there's not a lot of hecticness, or I don't have that mindset of what's going to happen next, and I think it's something negative, or I'm expecting something negative to hit, you know. And I used to think that way much more often. Hello, Purple rhymes with orange, and she is saying hi to everybody. Okay.
And anybody I've missed, hello.
Can you guys
Good
hear
you.
Matthew and I pretty well? Because I'm not using my headphones. I'm wondering if I should put them on.
Well, you seem to be coming through loud and clear. What's YouTube saying?
Yeah, I'm asking.
Seems everybody's interacting all right.
Yeah, they're all interacting. Both sound fine. Thank you.
Ooh, thanks, Purple.
Purple says I could use a bit of boredom in the news. I know, right?
Yeah.
This week has been a little hectic on the news. And I've been trying to do that, take breaks of the news, you know, because of just, it can be scary, you know, and it's really, there's only so much we can do when it comes to politics and our leadership. So, and I will get caught up with it, and I will even find myself worried. And I don't need to be that way. So when I recognize that, I'll take a bit of a break. And so I need to remind myself what is going on here and now with me, wherever I'm at. So instead of, because I can go into worry about what's going to happen in the future. And that's a very familiar place for me, especially growing up in the org and knowing that my behavior is not always upstanding, right? So it's almost impossible to be in that.
It's the inadequacy that gets put into us.
Yes.
Because we're told that we're not perfect, or we're less than perfect. And, you know, we look at ourselves very critically and having to say sorry for our existence.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like that. It's like, there's an understanding that we're not perfect, but it seems that we have to measure up to perfect. But we know we're not perfect. And so, like anytime there might be a complaint about the governing body, it's always met with, you know, somebody that, if they're definitely like a devout follower of Jehovah's Witnesses, they might come up with something to the effect of, they're just imperfect men, you know, they do make mistakes, and it's a perfect organization with imperfect men. And I always think to myself, if we went into a judicial meeting, could we pull this? Could we, you know, if they're questioning us, can we just go, look, I'm just an imperfect person, and just kind of blow it off like that? I don't think it's going to go well. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, it was pretty cool going to meet up with everybody today. ICE is making people disappear. There are still thousands of people missing Yes. From the yes, since they closed Alcatraz. Yeah, that's in southern Florida. What I caught wind of is that it was native land, and I believe land native people took the government to court to not have that facility there, and I believe they won, meaning Native Americans won, and that they had to get people out of there and put them someplace else. But we have not been told where that something else is. And the book, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but I read a book about someone who used to be in the in ICE, and what was disturbing to me to find out is that if they have medicine or something, some ICE agents would just be mean and take all their belongings and throw them in the trash. I don't get the impression that they get their medicine with them, like that they're being taken care of with the right medicines that they need. So that concerns me, because there's some medication that if you don't get to take it, it's really going to throw your body off, and who knows what's going to happen next. It's not very good. Thirsty Treasures here. Hello. Dehydrated Nurse says, we're still wondering about 300,000 children missing. Adrenochrome. Okay, so that's the story about...
Whoa, who's mentioned that?
That would be Dehydrated Nurse. And so that story is about a ritualistic abuse to the point of
yes,
sacrifices and a belief that young babies' blood will give older people a longer life, or it rejuvenates them. But there's a certain method that we have to scare the crap out of them, and at that moment sacrifice them. And that could be true. I'm not real sure what I think about that, but it was some of the things I've read, and again, I'm just sharing opinions and talking about things of my own wisdom. I'm not 100% sure. Some of the things I've read kind of stems from times of, I would say, a few centuries ago, where there would be children that would be missing and found, and it was believed that the Jewish people took a child, okay, and it didn't have a good ending. So that's also part of some of the things about not being able to trust this community of Jewish people, and it's kind of a foundation of anti-Semitism, but having that mindset, yeah. And Amber says, "Hi, Matthew." A Dehydrated Nurse. So the 300,000 children missing. I'm curious about that number, because I know I've heard what this story is, and again, I'm not sure if it's the case. I still have my doubts about it. Edward Dallas said, "I heard Linda on Rick's show." And Doreen and Shaq. Yep, that's true.
Yeah.
That was fun. And Linda Lowton's here too. All right. So yeah, I'm curious where that 300,000 came from. And Thrifty Treasure said there were a lot of abuse complaints about alligator Alcatraz. It was also what is that word, Matthew? Habitable? Not habitable. Okay. Yeah.
Where are you reading from, Linda James? From the comments, eh?
Right. Just under Purple Rhymes with Orange, where she
Okay.
says exactly correct. And then it was Thrifty Treasure under that. Said there were a lot of abuse complaints about
Yeah.
alligator Alcatraz. It was not habitable. That was the word I got stuck on.
Linda James, can I ask you a question? How's your audience with things like controlled remote viewing?
It's kind of something we haven't talked much about, but that's very, kind of MK Ultra, and there is a belief system within this recovery of MK Ultra being part of that coercive brainwashing kind of thing. So I don't have an opinion on it. If you want to share your thoughts on it, I'm fine with that.
Oh man, I've got a letter here that would blow the community's mind on MK Ultra, but the amount of trouble that this thing caused, and again, it was through the organization.
Oh my goodness, that's interesting.
This is where I learned about it. Okay,
so we're about 16 minutes in. So why don't we wait till we're into the show about 40 minutes, and then let's share that. Okay, that sounds good.
All right. Okay, no problem.
And so
they were making them live in tents in the middle of a swamp.
Yes.
Says Purple. And for somebody who said that they were going to go and go Nunite, we saw Grow chirping quite a bit.
Amber says it's a real thing. Amber, are you talking about remote viewing or the adrenaline? I don't remember how to say the rest, or something else. Purple says, dehydrated nurse, the whole adrenochrome thing was part of Pizzagate, okay, which happened in the basement of the building that had no basement. I do remember when that happened, and that was tragic, because the person that went to open the door to the basement truly showed up there to rescue abused children and babies. And
so, Linda James, I've got a question for you, because the adrenochrome, as far as I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, you can synthesize it. You don't have to draw it from these nefarious, terrible methods. There's other ways to get that. But
I'm not familiar with that.
My comprehension is that the spiritual ritual is the key thing.
Right,
Plus,
right.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things. It's not just getting the adrenochrome. Am I right?
I guess so. I'm not familiar with a whole lot of it. I'm only familiar with scaring a baby or a young intended sacrifice. At that moment, for some reason, the blood of that sacrifice.
Well, yeah, because there's a metaphysical component to that as well. And the only reason why I mentioned it was because of the controlled remote viewing.
Does it have something to do? Does that kind of coincide?
Well, because your criminologists have you, or police will contact controlled remote viewers, like the ones that were at SRI. If they've lost leads or something like this, then they'll control, or they'll get that community where there's been a high rate of success, between 80 to 90% success rates on record. So usually with a controlled remote viewer, they'll be filmed so that you can see that there's no interruption in the stream. And I mean, that's why I said Congress paid for that. Congress was paying for that Stargate program using the controlled remote viewers from SRI, the likes of Ingo Swann and who else? Russell Targ. There were several ones who were tied to Scientology in that program. Pat Price was one of them. I even believe Ingo Swann also had a Scientology background, although Russell Targ was more Buddhist and I think eclectic, because he says he was connected to Theosophy, the Theosophical Society. But I mean, their program, phenomenal. Oh, who was on? Somebody I was talking with, Paul Smith, PhD. Paul Smith, he was an instructor, and I was telling him about some of the experiences I had at the branch at Bethel, because I wasn't getting any answers for some of the metaphysical side. You know, the stranger things that happen when they send you out into some of these remote locations and things like this. And I didn't know who Paul Smith was. I had no idea who I was talking with. And to break the ice, they were talking about human superpowers. And so I said to him, because nobody was talking, to break the ice, I said, "Oh, I got a superpower. I'll tell you what it is." And he says, "Yeah, what?" I said, "Getting into trouble."
Right.
So I thought it was, hey?
That's great.
Yeah. So I thought I was being cute, and then he stops and he says, "Okay, well, how'd you get into trouble?" So I said to him, "Oh, because," I said, "I know there's a difference between controlled remote viewing and somebody who's able to have an out-of-body experience, or is able to see into another room or whatever." And then he stops. He says, "Oh, by the way, that's not controlled remote viewing. That's sight." So he's talking about mind sight.
Okay.
So I said, or was saying to the Parapsychological Society, I was saying, "Oh, well, then I would spell it PSIGHT instead of SIGHT to differentiate between sight and inner sight."
Okay.
And they thought that was quite nice and quite interesting to talk about. And I think the last time I did discuss this, your comments on the chat was, "What the F is Matt talking about?" Hey? Yeah. What are you talking about?
I remember looking into the CIA about, some of the MK Ultra stuff, and there's a guy named Jolly West who did an experiment with some LSD, and unfortunately he or his assistants or somebody didn't measure it properly, and they killed an elephant on accident. And that was pretty bad.
Did they actually kill somebody on LSD?
It was an elephant.
Oh.
Yeah, it was an elephant. And I believe it was the LSD they were using on the elephant. But supposedly they've gotten rid of all this CIA, like all of the experiments that they had done, they just got rid of them all, which sounds highly unlikely, to be honest.
Yeah, sure.
So I don't know what got them to that point to say, "Nothing to see here, move along." Who knows,
Well, It's an Amber thing has hit at 100%. She says, "Third eye view." Well, Russell Targ did a documentary called Third Eye Spies. And by the way, we just need to differentiate between CRV, or controlled remote viewing, and your MK Ultra programming, which is your compartmentalized mind control, where they, through trauma, fracture the mind and program the various compartments or program the various altars, as they call them. But controlled remote viewing is a very different thing. So it's an Amber thing, third eye view. Yes, you correct, 100%. Then you've got John Marciano. That would drive the elephant crazy. Dumbo was flying high, thrifty treasure. You're on a ball.
That's sad but funny.
Okay, I can see how this stream's gonna go.
Because this stream's a good time. Okay,
what's the time in the States at the moment?
What is the time and the place at the moment?
Yeah, what's your time there?
So my time here is 9:26, almost 9:30 p.m. Here in Southern California.
Okay. 6:26 South Africa a.m.
Really? It's 6:26? Okay.
Yeah.
Dehydrated nurse said she sent me something about the rapture that recently happened. Well, an expectation of a rapture. Some Christians were looking forward to it. I kind of caught wind of it, but didn't check it all out. I'm sorry, I gotta laugh. First off, I opened this thread, and before I could open the link, it says worse than JW's. Okay, let's see what this is. Oh,
this is my last video. It's from Monday, September 22nd. Sorry I sound like this. I've been all morning just so excited to
Can you hear
this?
this?
To be raptured. Just like all those school college work, we're just waiting around. We're all too nervous to even go to work too, because we just don't know when it's going to happen. So we don't want to be on the toilet. Be silly. See this? You're still here. I'm so sorry that you didn't make it. You can try for Jesus. I can try to get something to come back for you if you decide to be saved. But yeah, at least you're here getting to do all the sins that you wanted to do and be naughty with your fellow sinners. I don't know. Best out of it.
Okay, so that yelling looks like a bunch of people in a forest yelling. That's fascinating. And I'm going to read a few comments from this. And I'm going to go to the latest comments from 1 minute ago. Even the Bible says he will come like a thief in the night. She listened to media, not her Bible. That's one comment. The next one was from 6 minutes ago. And I bet there are churches with their greedy hands out to cash in on those belongings just to seal the deal that they would be raptured. And do you think they are going to get any of that in return? Nope. Next comment. Yep, because pooping would be silly. Oh, God. Laugh if you want, but in Matthew, Jesus makes it clear that we are to live as if his return is soon and literally any moment. Next comment, mental illness is real. I mean, just look at the Trumpers, yikes. If it borrowed $1 billion, I bet all of that most of these people voted for Trump. Evil is real. That was weird. So nutters, even the farmer Australian PM, believe in this lunacy. This is so sad because if somebody has been telling a group of people that the end of the world was coming or that there was going to be a rapture and they believed it and it didn't happen, that's really it's just not nice. It's just not nice. I'm trying to think of the name of the guy that who coined the term cognitive dissonance. He wrote a book about that, about prophecies of future Armageddon or future raptures and stuff like that. For some reason, I had thought that it was going to be opening up to an article, but it's a video. And it's halfway through. And I don't think I'm going to play anymore because it's now screaming. But yeah, thank you, Dehydrated Nurse. And when we run into people who think that the rapture was going to happen, or now that it hasn't, I mean, I don't know. I suggest we show some empathy. That's just my opinion. Because pretty much anybody can be deceived. Watched how it burned your ability to sleep. Wow, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Parting gift.
So JW Suicides is who just dropped in. It's so good to see you. And Debbie Moore is here too. Okay. Yeah, in about 10 minutes, I'm going to have you share what you have to share about the remote viewing. And I've seen like a preview of a film that was coming out talking about it. I've heard about it, but I have not looked into it. So I kind of don't have an opinion on it. I don't know if I think it's real or not. So
yeah, I don't know how that'll trigger the audience though, but I've done it. It's on the internet. I've done it live.
You have done some remote viewing?
Yeah.
And how was it scary for you, or did you kind of have a peace of mind with it, or?
One of my targets was a nuclear site.
Oh, interesting.
Of course, they'd only reveal it later. But yeah, the nuclear site, I didn't like that at all. It was horrible. And when I went and did research later on, I found out that there was an accident at the nuclear site. And that, yeah, so I tapped into the accident site. Yeah, look, I'm not going to promote this one way or another, or force somebody to believe this or not believe it. I just, yeah, when I was at the one branch, of course, I had the old Dwelling Together in Unity manual, where there is the part on Jacob's ladder. And I was having these, if you want to call it mystical experience or deep spiritual experience, and I thought that was what JW was all about. I mean, there were people at the branch speaking Enochian and all sorts of things, but I was in a very strange branch. It wasn't your run-of-the-mill kind of branch, but I thought that was how it was all done, and I thought this is it, and this is wonderful, and I was enjoying it.
Okay.
And thinking this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
And I would talk about it openly in my, if you want to call it naivety or stupidity or whatever, not realizing it was a taboo thing and it threatened the whole artificial authority structure, because they can't have people that have these kind of abilities. Yeah. So I was banished off to the Mozambican border.
Oh, wow. So was this something that you got involved with and coached through, like somebody suggested to remote view that particular location? Or did you kind of stumble upon it yourself and you chose where to remote?
Yeah, all right. Okay. So I've confused two stories here. I've confused my spiritual growth at the branch with controlled remote viewing. So the controlled remote viewing, so I thought that at the branch, I thought that I had gotten damaged or whatever, and okay, only until recently I started talking again. You know this, hey?
Right.
Yeah.
That's
so
right.
I lost my sight, I lost hearing. That was a real mess. So I wanted to kind of do little tests and things like this to see if I was getting abilities back. And the one Professor Brown, I had done transcripts for. And so I connected to his institute because I thought there's a sincere individual, and I'm going to just go with some of his instructors that he's trained and see if my CRV is still working well, you know. And
CRV
so
stands for what?
Controlled remote viewing.
Controlled remote viewing. Thank you.
Yeah. So some people might say, no, Matt, that's just nonsense. You know, that's subtle. That's tuning into subtle energies, or, you know, that's all that is. Or it's been proven it doesn't work. That's why Stargate was dismantled and declassified. Doesn't work. Oh, JW Suicides, you're in the right direction. Joe McMoneagle, he was number one. Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
So she's
he
in
was
the
number
UK.
one.
She's in the UK.
Oh, so Joe McMoneagle, yeah. So he'll talk about it. There'll be certain things that he doesn't disclose, but he's pretty upfront. Joe, I haven't done transcripts for him, but I've come across Joe in my circle. So Sean Ryan, main CIO, yeah. He was number one. He was called number one. Joe McMoneagle.
So, audience, what do you think? Would you like to hear Matthew share his viewpoint and his experience of the remote viewing that he's come across? Would that be something you're interested in? Or do you think it's going to be like too heavy and too triggering? I kind of want to get a feel. I'm okay with it. I don't know enough about it to add.
I hope I don't trigger anybody. That's my concern.
Esther's raising a hand. Is that a yes? Debbie says yes, please share, Matt.
Debbie Moore goes, yes, please. Oh boy. Okay. But it looks like your audience is pretty with it, though. I mean, Joe McMoneagle, that's 100%. You're in the right direction.
We've got some open-minded people, and again, I'm not. You know, we share opinions, we share viewpoints. It's not. This is not a whole. You have to believe what is being shared. Oh, somebody talked Art Bell. Oh my God, coast to coast. Remote viewing was used by the U.S. military, according to a show I heard on radio called Coast to Coast. I used to be a coast to coast junkie back in the day. Yes, back in the day with Art Bell. And that was before the person we have now, who's really amazing.
Yeah.
I haven't listened to it in a long time. And
is there anyone in the audience that's done it? I mean, is there anybody who's trained in it and who's pretty comfortable with it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Have any of you ever tried the remote controlling, the remote viewing?
Because if there's any that's done it, then there's no mystery. You know, you just go, oh yeah, I mean, fine. Have not done it, John Marciano.
I haven't either.
Yeah. Thrifty, I'm okay with it. Maybe we do a signal. Yeah, okay. If anybody's triggered, we're going to watch the comment section, and anybody who freaks out over it, then just come up front and bear with us. If we don't see you panicking or something like this, please just bear with us. We'll just do our best. Okay. We're not trying to ignore anybody.
Debbie Moore says, I think I've done it, but wasn't sure how I did it. I'm also an empath. Yeah. Yes, you are.
Ooh, Debbie, now that's very interesting because Yeah, I know you're very upfront with some of your history there, Debbie, and I empathize, and I saw you reaching out on Rick's show, and I saw your comments, and man, oh man, the things that have happened to you. But then I also go that I think that sometimes that happens because it's to stunt somebody's abilities. I think the abuse that happens is to stunt a person. So it wouldn't surprise me if you've got those abilities on the go. Yeah, sure. So you say you think you've done it. Well, controlled remote viewing, I'm going to speak how Paul Smith, one of the key instructors, speaks. If you're doing controlled remote viewing, you definitely know that you've done it. You wouldn't say, I think I've done it. But if you've got the natural ability, then you would say, I think I have done it, but wasn't sure. So you've connected it to empathy. Yes, love is very, very important. Truth is very, very important, which is, funnily enough, what, in my opinion, I think that was the reason why it was declassified. Because when America was getting into it, or United States of America was getting into it, they were told that, oh, this is happening with the Russians, so you better get with the program. Because they're using it, you know, and that's Russell Targ's documentary Third Eye Spies.
I see.
But the thing is, when you amplify that ability, you are amplifying spiritual ability. So love is very much key. Truth is very much key. And if that's happening on your different sides in Russia and in USA, then the propensity to become friends on either side is very high. And your two countries, I mean, if they're at war with each other, or you've got this Cold War going on, for goodness sake, how can you be friends? That kind of defeats the object, right?
Right.
So I in my deduction, I believe that that's what happened. And they were working on these energies, if you want, and I talk about it. If you sort of going, no, this is too far-fetched. Think about
that you called it spiritual abilities.
Yeah. What is it when you've got primal gaze detection, somebody looking at you, Linda James? You're in a crowd, and you say to your daughter, somebody's staring at me, and you turn around and she goes, good grief, Mom, you're right. Has that happened? What is that?
Is that along the same lines?
Yeah. So primal gaze detection is something where you get the creeps because somebody's staring you out. Okay. But you accept it. You go, oh yeah, well, we've all got that. Gee, you know, I can see somebody in a crowd looking at me, or turn around and I can feel that, you know, that vibe. Oh, well, then that's your entry into what Congress was getting SRI, Sanford Research Institute, to do. That was that think tank. That was what they were up to. And it's the kind of thing where you have police department, for instance, and somebody's phoned in and said, oh, we've got a bomb on a plane. What? Yo, my goodness, it's hectic. What do we do? We haven't got any information about it. Oh, it's set to go off in half an hour. Oh, my goodness. And what do? They get hold of your SRI guys, and they say, right, find where the bomb is. So it's the kind of thing from science fiction films. I think there's a Denzel Washington film where there's a machine that's made that's able to look into the past and all of this story. And it's based on
that Denzel Washington film that I've never just totally loved. That man is incredibly talented, and it's just wow. He takes us there. I'm always impressed with what he does.
Yeah, he was in a film with Val Kilmer, and they were looking, but the way they did the film is they had a technological aspect, and that was the way that, you know, they did the science fiction, but it's based upon things like SRI. It's that kind of think tank. So the film is done in a science fiction way, and it's done with, showing the audience technology, right? But SRI, the way that they were doing it, there was no technology. The human is the technology. Your mind is the technology. And if you go back into ancient spiritual practices or Tibetan monks, or it's happening all over the world anyway. So when Debbie Moore was saying, "Oh, I think I have done it," yeah, I think you have. I think you have, yeah. So a lot of persons, primal gaze detection, that's connected, or it now brings in the possibility, oh, hang on, there is something here. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. So what would happen if you trained that? What would happen if you disciplined that? What would happen if you had a controlled protocol? And that was what was developed. That was what Congress was throwing all this money into at SRI in the 70s, and did it last for about 20 years or something like that. I can't remember the dates, but yeah, it was going on for many years, and they accumulated a tremendous amount of data and have all kinds of stories about what happened. Debbie Moore says, "I still believe I was there telepathically because I saw everything that happened at..." Okay, Debbie Moore, Paul Smith would tell you that is called sight. There's a differentiation that doesn't fall into controlled remote viewing, but you're in the right thing. What happens if you are a well-trained controlled remote viewer is that starts to happen. What you are describing there, Debbie Moore, that's what starts to happen. That happens for an advanced controlled remote viewers. They can put themselves into that place as if they're there. All right.
Is that anything related to outer body experiences where someone...
No. What Debbie Moore is describing here is what Paul Smith would call mind sight.
Mind sight with that PH instead of an S.
Yeah. He would call that mind sight because there's a differentiation.
Mind sight
right?
and remote.
So it's almost like having a very vivid dream, and you're there and you're going, is this a dream? Or it says but the entire week I was unconscious in hospital. Yeah. I don't know if you were having a near-death experience, Debbie Moore. I don't know if that was happening. Sounds like if you were in a hospital, it was a pretty intense time. Maybe some of the drugs were also working upon you in a certain way. Maybe that also affected your ability and you broke through the wall. Maybe that happened. JW Suicides, I've remotely gone with my sibling to investigate something, went to that house in real life soon afterwards, and it was exactly... Yeah, okay. So, look, your audience is already ahead of the curve here.
Okay.
They're not surprised. Sort of,
yeah.
Oh, yes, we've all done it.
They're like, been there, done that. Got a T-shirt.
Yeah. So imagine if you're now in a discipline program. Imagine. You're in a discipline program. You told this is what it is. You've got an instructor controlling this or training you and telling you what you can do. And also the protection. Because now Linda James, you were talking about some pretty horrific stuff. Now, if you decide to go into this and you're working for the police, right? If you're training up and you get to 80% and you're coming consistent results under a recordable in front of a camera, so you can't fake the results, right?
Yeah.
And you get up to 80%, some hit 90%. You can't hit 100%.
Okay.
You can't because of our free will. And when you look into, say, for instance, the future, things change.
Right.
So there's this thing where there is a percentage of error. Okay.
Yes.
I have heard of 90%, like Joe McMoneagle getting 90%, and I hear that flying around, but 80 to 90%. Debbie Moore. I was able to tell her their conversations right down to the floor. Yeah, absolutely, sure. Yeah, you were functioning on that level, Debbie Moore. Are you able to get back into that mind state? Does it happen, or that's been some years ago? And you don't have to answer me. I'm just asking those questions. You might want to share, but if you don't want to share, that's fine. Yes, that happens. Matthew Miller Gray, XJW is so talented. Yes, possibly. What are you talking about? Would be astral projection. Okay, so purple. Some of these things are different. So out of body experience is different to mind sight. That's what Paul Smith. I'm just relating what he said to me. Right? It's different to mind sight. OBE. Okay, so so that's different. So you can induce an OBE in something like a centrifuge. So in NASA, Russell Targ went to Von Braun and was training up astronauts with their telepathic abilities and the things that they had learned in the Stargate program. And the whole idea or the whole sell was, why don't you train an astronaut to use these abilities to predict if there is machine failure on the space vehicle, for instance? That's one thing. It's more in depth than that because of some of the astronauts that came back and were involved in the Institute of Noetic Sciences, for instance. So there was a lot more going on with the astronauts than we are told. But one of the cells was train up an astronaut so that they are sensitive enough or intuitive enough, I think let me use that phrase, intuitive enough that they could predict if there was machine failure and mitigate it. So Russell Targ told me when I asked him the question about the future, he was telling me about mitigating the future. In other words, there might be something that is in place that you can't change. I don't want to say predestined because there is free will in this universe. We're believers in free will, or I am. Russell Targ is. But there's something that doesn't change in the future, such as, let's say, your remote viewers take a look at a vehicle and they say the wheel's going to fall off.
Okay.
And all the results, this remote viewer, this CRV, all the results are coming in. The wheel is coming off, come what may. You cannot change it.
Yeah.
Okay. Russell said to me, you can mitigate the future. Why? He says, because now if you've got the results that the wheel is coming off the car, he says, but where is that car? Are you saying the wheel comes off the car and it's a car accident? Don't deduct. That's a deduction. Don't deduct that. Okay? All that you can see is the wheel is coming off the car. So take the car into the garage, take the wheel off and replace it with a new wheel, and you've mitigated a potential accident. But because it came off in the garage, the wheel came off the vehicle.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
So it's fulfilled. It's happened.
Okay.
I
remember being a kid. My father was driving in the car. My mother's in the front seat over there. My sister's right here beside me. I only have one sibling 2 years younger than me. And I'm looking at a car up ahead throwing out bottle caps. I'm like, why are they throwing out bottle caps? It wasn't bottle caps. It was the bolt of the tire flying off. And the next thing you know, the tire flew over and we were right behind it. And my father swerved over and we literally felt the car go up like this. Like, you know, he swerved over and then, you know, he barely missed it. I remember just like it was bizarre, you know. And then that car headed to the right, because we drive on the right side of the road, headed to the right to get off of the freeway, and I was watching him or her drive on the bare metal. You know, that whole tire fell off. Yeah, that was a trip.
Debbie Moore, I don't know what your pain is like. I know that when I finished talking with Paul Smith, he was suffering with quite a bit of pain, because I carry pain too. All right. So Paul would just say, "Oh, I've had enough. I'm going to just get medicated. That's enough. Done." And I would feel like I needed to apologize to him and say, "Paul, I'm sorry if there's been a transference. I apologize about that. It's not my intention to offload or let somebody else carry my pain, or for me to affect somebody else with my pain. I carry it and I own it." So I don't know what your pain is like, but from what you have described very, very honestly, yeah, I think we can recognize that you have got these abilities. So sometimes if you've got those natural abilities, when it comes to controlled remote viewing, they might say to you, "No, you're not a candidate." And the reason for that, because you've developed your own abilities, and you might be very difficult to fall into these protocols. You might fight against the various protocols. And remember, when you go into controlled remote viewing, that you need to protect your own psychology, because some of the things that you can see are terrible. You're going to see humans at their best, but you're also going to see them at their worst. And when they're at their worst, it's the Linda James story with adrenochrome. Okay. So
Right.
they might tell you, "We want to search for a child." And when you're doing your controlled remote viewing, the child's over there and over there and over there and over there. Guess why? You know. So how do you handle that psychologically? You've got to go in for the right training to be able to deal with humans' worst darkest nature, as well as their best nature.
Yeah, because we would not be able to go and switch that up as it's happening.
Yeah. I told Paul Smith what happened to me at Bethel. I told him directly, because I needed answers. And I'm going, he's a PhD. What have I got to hide? I'm going to tell him. and you know what? These guys are so well trained anyway. It would be useless hiding. So I just came out straight with it. I said, "This is what happened to me at the branch, blah, 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 blah." And he launches, he says, "Well, after your disaster," he says, "I don't think," he says, "I want to say it couldn't have happened to a better guy." Because I gave him my worst story. I said, "I'm not holding back. I'm going to tell him what a disaster this was." And he says, "Yeah, it couldn't have happened to a better guy." And I appreciated that, because it was a comfort. Immediately, it disarmed any kind of fears or.
Yeah. That's good.
But I think Bethel was employing a form of remote viewing. Well, we know that they were doing that with Seola and the Angels and Women book. And Grow says, "Oh, I've heard you talking about this kind of stuff before." Yes. So that was automatic writing. Seola was automatic writing.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Seola?
And one of the things I was fascinated. Sorry, Linda James.
Seola, is that what you said it was called?
Yeah, that Seola book, which is where we Russell sanitized it and made Angels and Women.
Okay.
So Smith was the writer. So that was automatic writing. But when you do controlled remote viewing, you have what's called ideograms. So it's not just writing spans. You've got your little ideograms. That's part of your protocol. And you're drawing. And somebody like, was it somebody in the audience here said Joe McMoneagle. I think it was John Marciano. So Joe McMoneagle, if I'm not mistaken, is an artist. He's got artistic abilities. So doing these kind of things, right? This artwork, well, he's a prime candidate, because if they want him to do remote viewing of a target in Russia because they think that there's an atomic bomb that's being made there, all right? They want an artist that's not just going to do little stick figures and little crude drawings. They want this result.
Okay.
They want this coming out. So that's why he was number one. He was number one, not just because of his ability to actually see all that detail, but because he could actually paint and produce like a photographic picture, with that kind of detail, the picture that says 1,000 words. Debbie Moore, I had premonitions when I was around 13 and everything I said was going to happen. Yeah, well, you must have been going crazy, Debbie. I don't know who you had that. My parents told me it was the demon. Yeah. Okay. So there we've got Debbie Moore being honest about her situation. What happens? It gets framed as a demonic thing and fear, and you're feeling, oh, what have I done? And now I'm guilty. And you sabotage it. And yeah, that's the spiritual abuse. And the spiritual abuse comes out as physical abuse as well. It's dreadful. But when we talk like this, I hope, Debbie, that you feel that you're in company where you can get some form of healing and you can get some kind of answers. And if we don't know the answers, we'll say to you, we don't know certain things. But the most important thing is that you feel safe in a community like this where you're not going to have people come down and you like a ton of bricks going that you're a freak of nature or you're worshipping the devil or something like that. No, that's your natural innate abilities, and it's cross-spectrum across peoples from the Aborigines in America to the native Indians with the Great Spirit in Peru. Yeah, that's what it is. And a lot of religions have been formulated because of our innate abilities like this. That's the truth of the matter.
Can I ask you something you said earlier? Because I need clarity. The person that wrote the book that you said got sanitized and turned into angels and women? Was that somebody?
Yes.
And you spoke
Smith,
to this
the
person?
writer.
You had spoken to this person who wrote it?
No, it's too old. I mean, it's that was Russell's time.
Right. That's actually what's going on in my brain. That's why I'm re-asking.
Yeah. So Russell's time. So he came across the book Siola. Now, if you mention it to write, if you talk like I'm talking now, writing department at the branch would throw a fit because that shouldn't come out in the open.
Right.
Yeah. So they would go, Siola's satanic. What are you doing with this? You go, well, Sammy Hurd told the audience that he read Angels and Women. Where do you think it came from?
Okay.
Huh? You think that Russell just magically produced it? No.
So it was Russell that put out Angels and Women, not Rutherford?
Yeah, it was Russell that did the Angels and Women version, but it was based on Siola.
Okay, that I did not know. That's interesting. Thank you.
Yeah. Debbie Moore, I can be in a store and feel the pain. Yes. Be it physical or emotional. Yes. And hear their thoughts. Bump into them and apologize, but I start a conversation, they will pour their heart. They don't know why. Yeah. Debbie Moore, you are a match. Who else? There's somebody else in the audience here, I saw. Besides, and of course, there's some who are keeping quiet too. We're just gonna listen and not share.
Yeah. And they'll give us some feedback if they're.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so Debbie, thank you very much for throwing yourself right in the middle of the mix there. That's a lot of trust you have on the community, and for putting it into the internet, because yeah. grow. Congress in the US, yes, Congress, they have to fund it. They are the ones that pay the bills. By the way, SRI didn't get a lot of money. Wasn't tremendous sums of money, so don't think that it was huge amounts. I don't know what the figures are. Could have been million US. I can't remember what it was. But the fact is that US Congress had to pass it, and I think that's also the problem with that's led to disclosure. You've got a divided government that is not feeding all the information to the president like they should be, for instance. So this year, you're not hearing about the big investigation into UAPs and UFOs, for instance, which, by the way, Watchtower wrote about in the Awake magazine of 8th November 1990, that information. So Danny Sheehan is the lawyer that is involved in the so-called disclosure of this information. Whether you believe in a UFO, whether you believe in extraterrestrials or not, the point is that the government was divided or was compartmentalized, where they had this information, and it was about having that information available for critical examination freely. But instead, it was being withheld. And when the president was asking for that information, it was like key figures were holding that information back and telling the president basically a lie. Either a lie through omission or a deception, or an out-and-out lie, that information wasn't available or it was of no consequence. And so that's what this whole disclosure thing is, which, by the way, you're no longer hearing about in the news. But for the whole year, the whole of 2025, it's been a big issue. Very, very big issue. Okay. But instead, you're getting other, Ukraine, other kinds of things, false flag events and all of this to occupy US citizens' minds. And the real stuff that's going on, you're not hearing about, like the disclosure movement. It's phenomenal stuff. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything in the chat.
Seems like I've come across channels where they would be in court, and these would be people that were involved in the service of some sort. I don't know which form of service. I don't know if it was Navy, Air Force, or Marines. I think it was Air Force. So they were giving an account of things that they had seen to confirm the existence of UFOs.
Right. Well, again, coming from Watchtower, was there good things that we learned at Watchtower? Well, if you had learned about angels and women, for instance, and you learned about all of that information, you would be coming into that UFO, UAP stuff now. And Rick Farron was talking about Pleiades in his, Q&A that he does.
Oh, yeah, that's where Jehovah used to live, right?
Right. Now you're getting into that. And if you're going, oh, well, that was something they believed in a long time ago. No. I've only just come off writing department as a consultant this year, by the way. I was aiding with producing Watchtowers up until this year.
Okay.
And I know that you discuss the Pleiadians and the Nordics, and there's like a very, very a reverence, a frightening reverence among those in research and writing department in the circle. Okay, it's frightening stuff. Yeah, frightening stuff. Now, Thrifty Treasure says, what would happen if you combine remote viewing with AI? Very good question. What do you think would happen? Because I reckon your question has come from knowledge, Thrifty Treasure. I don't think that that's just come from a thumbsuck. I think you already know something about that. I will provide you with this information. David Sinclair is producing organoids. Okay. So you had Federico Fagin, Italian microprocessor designer, who was working for Olivetti. He designed the Z80 microprocessor, Z80 microprocessor. So when he designed the microprocessor, the reason for doing that was to try and produce a conscious machine. His goal was to produce a conscious machine.
That sounds so.
He had studied quantum physics, quantum mechanics, and the belief was if they scrape up the right kind of crystals and the right kind of materials, it should be able to match what happens in our mind or in our brain.
Interesting.
That was the idea. So they were saying if you gather things of a physical nature, well, rabbits and dogs and cats and humans and baboons, they've got a consciousness. So we should be able to replicate it with the right kind of lattice or the right kind of structure. That was the idea. And that was the idea.
If Arnold Schwarzenegger could play a pregnant person, this does have possibilities.
Yeah, Federico Fagin, if you look him up on YouTube, he's very outspoken about it. He doesn't hide it. And you could say he is the father of AI, because that was the whole idea, was to have that microchip with its little flip-flops and with its little gates and everything. The idea was to enlarge that structure to such a degree that you had a complex enough structure to produce artificial consciousness. So the question from Thrifty Treasure, what would happen if you combine remote viewing with AI? So this is controversial because some in the parapsychological circle are saying, no, this can't happen. I come across those with a different point of view, because quantum computing starts getting very strange. And when you start mixing it with organoids, it starts getting very, very strange. So the organoid is like a little manufactured brain. It's a little pink piece of tissue wired up.
Interesting.
Yeah. And you can buy these things now. You can buy an organic computer. You can buy them. So this is what happens when you combine. So the answer to that Thrifty Treasure, and again, you can prove me wrong and it's debatable, so you have to go in with healthy skepticism, is that looks like your organic quantum computer that is available, that you don't have to go and power it electronically. You can just feed it sugar and it would be able to compute on a quantum level. Okay, that's what it looks like. David Sinclair's got them. And the reason why he's got them is he's trying to reverse aging, and he claims that he has reversed degeneration of retinas. He reckons he can reverse that problem. So the whole idea of the organoids is to experiment in such a way that if you have got something like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, that can be reversed. That is his justification for doing that. Also, there's a lot of things that cannot be done ethically on American soil. So some of these experiments have to be done in countries where there isn't such stringent laws and rules on, say, for instance, cloning. Yes. Which would be unethical on American soil. So, yeah, are people ready for this? I think somebody says here, JW suicides, that sounds scary. Yes, to a lot of people, yes, it is scary. So you don't hear about it. And remember, the news information is very, very controlled under censorship. Matthew, are you able to provide references to what you're talking about? Answer, yes. Why? You can look at Russell Targ, Russell Targ. Maybe I should write it in the comments. Hey, Tog, third eye spies. Boing, there we go. Grow. Debbie Moore, Matt, I would kind of think you are either Aquarius or Gemini. Very interesting you would say that. So, Grow, I don't know if you're happy with that. If you need more information, just pipe up and we can send you more information. But John has been feeding us a bit of information. And if you look in the chat, there's been some references there. Job McMonigal, he's not top secret. Well, there's certain things that he keeps to himself because he's under non-disclosure, but he's pretty much upfront with the whole thing. And you can do it yourself as well. If you connect yourself to, say, for instance, Lynn Buchanan's think tanks, like Farsight, for instance. Lynn Buchanan is a director of Farsight. They can put you... Okay, it's not something you would get into. Okay, well, that's fine. But Grow, you just want the reference. So the reference is probably enough. Russell Targ, Third Eye Spies. Joe McMonigal involved in it. Paul Smith, PhD. Russell Targ's also a laser physicist as well. He's not just into controlled remote viewing. You can thank him for lasers. Okay, so he's a laser physicist. That's what he's done in the past. Okay. So, Grow, I don't know if that's enough for you to know, if that satisfies you. And you can ask your questions from there. Okay, are there any other questions I have left out? Russell Targ, Third Eye Spies. Paul Smith, PhD. Okay, he was working with Russell Targ, so that's one. JW Suicides, don't forget Jimmy Dean show, Porter Wagner show, Johnny Cash show, Ed Sullivan show, Stagecase. I'm not sure what that is referring to. Debbie Moore, Matt, do you believe anything in astrology? Okay, so Debbie Moore, that's a good question. You said, I'm Aquarius, what's your sign? So if you look in the RBI 8, which is Watchtower, in the book of Job, and you look up the word Mazaroth, you will see there is a footnote. So with Watchtower, you must always look at the footnotes because those are very important. So book of Job, I see in the 2013 revised edition, they have subtracted it, but they have left the footnote. Mazaroth, and it refers to 2 Kings 23:5, and it says the related term in plural form refers to the constellations of the zodiac, which is why Rick Farron was asking that question about Pleiades, because that is based upon the book of Job. And if you go to the old reference Bible, RBI 8, you can see in Job 38:32 is a reference to the zodiac. Can you bring forth the Mazaroth constellation in its appointed time? And as for the Ash constellation alongside its sons, can you conduct them? So another word for Mazaroth is zodiac. So you go into that Bible and you look at the calendar system at the back of your Bible, and you will find 12 months. And there is a 13th month because of your leap year situation. So that was designed to bring the calendar back on order in that Jewish system of things. And so you can see it across cultures. You can see it in Shona culture that they have the 12 and the 13th month. You can see it in all sorts of different cultures throughout Africa. You can see it in Peru, that the same kind of pattern exists, just that your language or your dialects change, but your imagery essentially stays the same. So do I believe in it? I believe in the clockwork of the universe. I believe in the macro, the very large, and I believe in the micro, very small. And I believe in things like the Buddha-Brot, for instance, where you've got mathematical patterns in these Mandelbrots, which come out as patterns. So those patterns are universal. They're universal up in the heavens, and they're universal in the very, very small as well. So yeah, this universe has got an amazing clockwork. So you look at these patterns, you look at these signs, you look at astrotheology, for instance. There is a tremendous amount that you can see there when you apply it. The physicists that are making breakthrough discoveries, they rely on this patterning. This is the same kind of patterning that you see in atomic structures, the periodic table, so that you can predict there's an element. The whole universe works on these patterning systems. That's how we can predict. When you see the pattern, things become easier to start seeing how things work. Okay, let me take a look. Is there anything I'm missing in the chat? Debbie, please join Casey and Anthony's show, Facts on JW, when you can. Yeah, that's a great show. Dallas, thank you for that. Asking cheekily again, Matthew, have you experienced using theta healing? Okay, so that's different. If you're talking about Reiki healing, I should imagine that's theta healing or very similar. Yeah, you can do the same. So CRV is for a very specific purpose. It's not always necessary. It's not to do with healing, although I can see how that would be a part of it. But CRV is very much, you're given a target, you're given a set of coordinates, and it'll be a sealed envelope in a double-blind situation, so that it cannot affect the person who is bringing in the data in the controlled remote viewing state, because you mustn't contaminate your remote viewer. So it'll be a double-blind situation. You're given an envelope with maybe the coordinates, and you're not told what the target is, and you are distanced from that target. So the person who knows the target, there is a double-blind where that target has now been given the code, and you are given the code so that you cannot be contaminated by what they're wanting you to see. All right. So that wouldn't be something to do with the healing. I would say that's a very different thing. Okay. Most things have a mathematical equation solution. Yes. So if you start seeing patterns, Debbie, the more you see patterns, the more you'll be able to fit in to harmony with things and predict the future or predict what's coming towards you. They used to do that with the Gilead students when they had the All Scripture is Inspired of God and Beneficial for Teaching book, the Blue Book. And they used to have a big section in the Gilead units on Solomon's Temple and the Tabernacle and Herod's Temple, and you looked at all the patterns that were there. Okay, and you look at things topographically, and you can see the big T that's in the Holy of Holies. And so everything becomes patterned. I think somebody was, who was it? Dallas was mentioning Casey and Anthony's show Facts on JW, and we were looking at the pyramid assembly in Hall in Denmark with the Eye of Providence, which is like on the dollar bill, right?
Yes,
so,
I have a video I made a video about that just from Google pictures. Yeah.
So most things do have a mathematical equation solution, Debbie Moore. Yeah, absolutely. You 100% scoring good points there. And so you go into the Platonic solids. I remember when we were children, we had the rabbi from Israel coming over, and he was teaching us in school. In school, I was a prodigy and genius in math, science. I couldn't have gone to medical school at 14 years old. Yeah, Debbie Moore, I read you. Yes, you are sharing a tremendous amount. The rabbi came from Israel, and he was showing us how scrolls were written, how the Torah was written. IQ dog training. Is it time for me to shut up, Linda James?
No, please keep going.
Okay, I'm still got a green light here, but if it's bothering you, tell us. And,
I will.
I will zip up. I promise. I'll shut up.
Hello,
But,
IQ dog training.
Yeah. So the IQ dog training. If it is triggering you in any way, just let us know, and we will change the subject. We'll go on to something else. Thrifty Treasure, you know what Denmark Hall looks like. CIA headquarters, there is a garden. Yeah. So all of these things, it's all patterning. If you want to say, oh, this is Illuminati, it's Freemasonry thing. Well, guess what? They're all interconnected. Once you start looking at the same patterning Debbie Moore is seeing, the sensationalism of these things falls away. It's not sensational anymore. You suddenly see that this thing's been going back to Arcadian systems. It's been going back to Zoroastrianism, and you see it in different cultures as well. Grow is making a good point. Says Linda, it would be nice to hear you too.
Okay. Can you hear me? I know nothing about this subject, so that's why I'm not contributing, because I ask you for clarification on certain explanations, but I don't know anything about this subject.
Yeah,
I'm
going to take that as Gro's respectful hint for me to shut up. I think that's a good time for me to put a pin in it, because we've got the references there. Anybody who's interested in it, there's enough references for somebody to take over. So Linda James, thank you very much for letting me answer these questions, and thanks to the audience that feels free to communicate. I appreciate the directness. That's good. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing what you've brought up, because it's foreign to me. It's interesting to me. And at the same time, I know nothing about it. And so, yeah, when I know about something, I'll share it. But the things you brought up is very fascinating. And it's interesting how you said that you were on the writing department.
As a consultant.
What would a consultant on the writing department, what does that entail?
If there's like an article for a watchtower, I would read over it and see where there's been errors or something of conflict. And they would record me, and I would have a code, and I would not talk about it, obviously until it's. And even if it
sounds like you were proofreading it.
Yeah, so proofing and making sure there wasn't anything that was doctrinally wrong or going against the rules, or
Right.
Like 607, if there was something where there was something too revealing, like it was one of our professors that was disfellowshipped or something like this, and it was revealed that we actually were using him to prove the 607.
Yes.
It would be a no-go, because that would be bounced from writing.
Right, because we don't use them anymore. Are you familiar with Johannes Grieber?
Yes, spiritualist.
Okay. Yeah, so he was a defrocked Catholic priest, and why, I don't know, but he ended up writing a Bible. And his wife was like a medium. And somehow he was inspired through his wife that was a medium. He was quoted by the organization because in John 1:1, rather than in the beginning was the Word and the Word was God, he wrote, in the beginning was the Word and the Word was a God, just like the New World Translation says. So, and that's in John 1:1. So they used him as a to back up the the translation of the Word, which was thought of as being Jesus, as being a God rather than the God. But there's something there in the Greek called the definite article. Are you're familiar with this? Yes. And
Oteos.
what?
Oteos.
Yes. So theos meaning like that's the beginning of theology. It stands for God. Yes. And then kuros is, what was that one for? I forget. But anyways, if I was to say to someone to ask a lady about this certain subject, it would be any lady. But if I said ask the lady about a certain subject, I would be talking about someone in particular. So the basis behind Jesus being depicted as God in John 1:1, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, it's because the definite article, which means the God, rather than any other God out there. So that's a counter argument. But in John 1:3, it talks about nothing being created without the Word. So nothing was created without the Word. And if you are a believer that Jehovah created Jesus, which means Jesus had a beginning, Jesus was a creature, we do not worship creatures. So Mike, we've heard of Jesus as being called Michael the Archangel, right?
Right.
And so if Jesus is Michael the Archangel, then that would qualify as a God.
Sure.
But if John 1:3 states that nothing was created without the Word, that would include Michael the Archangel, which means the Word actually created Michael the Archangel and everything as well.
Right.
You see my point here?
Uh-huh.
So that's going towards the deity of Jesus or Christ, meaning that Jesus would not be a God, but the God, and falls under the category of him creating all things, including Michael the Archangel. So some Christians believe that that's the case, that of his deity. And then there's like Anglican Catholics where they don't have that, they don't see Jesus as in that position. They see him as created, I believe. So that's a little something. And what was interesting today too is that, you know, when I got to get together with these people at that ex-Jehovah's Witness thing, you know, I was able to, like, some of them were letting me know that they are Christian and some are not Christians, you know, and we all had a pretty much respect for where we were at, and we didn't have this whole like somebody has to convince someone else to believe like they do, which I thought was pretty cool. Today last night I ran into a video that talked about agoraphobia, and I put it up on YouTube under the area of posting things, which is where I usually post that I'm going to have a show tonight. And the reason I put that up is because the therapist that is in that video was talking about trauma-based anxiety. and how agoraphobia might have something to do with someone who may have been abused or has experienced a lot of trauma. To me, that helped me connect some dots. So um, it's taken me a long time to figure out like high anxiety is actually a symptom of clinical depression. And then hearing this about trauma that helps to cause agoraphobia. And when he was explaining it, because he said he was someone that experienced that as well, that if you can stay home, you have an expectancy of what to expect at home. But going outside was too scary because you had no idea what to expect. Basically, you would be on tactical alert, waiting for shit to hit, because if you grew up in an abusive relationship or parents that were abusive or caretakers or whatever, you just never knew when that would happen, you know? So that was kind of interesting. So if you get a chance to look at that video. And we also talked about gaslighting today too. And gaslighting is, I'm sure many of you know what gaslighting is, but gaslighting is when someone wants to convince you that relying on the way you view things is not trustworthy. And they want to get you to rely on what they say is the case. So they have to convince you somehow that you're lacking and kind of losing your mind. So that can show up. Basically, it happens at the beginning of Watchtower Bible studies. When we offer a free Bible study to whoever's at the door, I believe that within the first 6 weeks, they have given the free Bible study person a wonderful form of gaslighting. They let you know that you cannot trust the heart. They let you know that the way that seems right to man leads to death. All these different things about how you can't trust yourself and that you can trust Jehovah, right? And then what's also weaved in there is that this organization is the one that was designated to be the organization that Jehovah God is using to speak to his people. So you get to a point within these Bible chapters to where you make the choice of, am I going to rely on my own flawed way of thinking that's pretty much dangerous? Or am I going to rely on how God wants things, how God wants to direct me? Okay? That's kind of a no-brainer. Picking God is the best choice, right? And when you reflect on yourself, you obviously come up with some screw-ups that we've made, you know, some things. And so go with us and how I think, or the perfect God, Jehovah, who would always direct us in a perfect way, you know, direct us properly. And by the way, if I did want to be directed by God, I would need to find the right religion that he has chosen to use to speak to his people. And by the way, it's us, okay? Because we're so bitching. We're so awesome. And God is an organized God. And if he didn't use a religion or a Bible study format like what they offer, things would just be chaotic, right? So that sounds unattractive. God's an organized God. We just did this organized Bible study thing. Also, too, what's going on with the free home Bible study is they come to your home where you usually dress rather casual. They show up in pretty much business casual or business clothing. That's nonverbal communication. Even though they don't say a word, what it says to you is they mean business. Okay? positionally, you're in a student position and they are in a teacher position. So they have the higher authority within this free home Bible study. So when you're going along in these chapters, they're the one teaching the free home Bible study person. And they're teaching them the doctrines of this organization. But the way to get somebody to receive what these teachings are, they need to be convinced that their own decision-making skills, relying on them, are dangerous. And what's wise is to rely on how Jehovah would like us to be directed. And that only way to be directed by Jehovah, this perfect God, that would not lead us in the wrong direction because he loves us, is to go by way of this organization. I mean, the organization has spoken of itself as being the mouthpiece of God. And in the past, it's called itself a prophet-like organization. Okay? So these are things when a prophet says something to somebody of their own accord, that's one thing. But if they say, "Thus saith the Lord," that says, I am now speaking for God. These are God's words that are coming out of my mouth.
That's when you say run like hell.
Yeah, that is what I say. Because that goes along with, if somebody tells you they're God, run. If somebody tells you they speak for God, run. That's right. Like, pick up your keys, pick up your wallet, just head out of there. If they want to ask you questions, no, you do not have to answer to them. Run. More than likely, that is a cult. And it's not a positive cult. It puts us in a position of dependency upon the group leadership, and makes us the child, and puts them in a parent-like position. It's no mistake that we have Father Jehovah and Mother Org. There's no mistake there. And then we call each other brothers and sisters. This is a pseudo family we have here. And the more we're taught that bad association spoils useful habits, the ones that are in our family that we can't recruit into the organization, the more we hear that they're not good associations, only Jehovah's Witnesses are good associations, then we choose to kind of fill in for a brother or a sister that's bio brother or sister, or even a biological mother or father. We kind of replace them with somebody that's a brother or sister in the organization. They're my spiritual mother, my spiritual father, spiritual sister or brother. We kind of just make up for it within the Jehovah's Witness culture. And we're also kept so busy and with the mindset of those that are not Jehovah's Witnesses are bad associations, along with not going to holidays any longer if you're recruited. It really does affect the relationship one would have with their bio family, to where eventually a person would just not be associating so much with their biological family and do more and more associating with their spiritual family, which sounds like a great idea. You know, these are safe people. Remaining under the organization is where we are safe. Anything outside of the organization is unsafe. Why? Because this earth is being ruled by Satan, the devil. So the only safe place is to be amongst other people that is part of this organization, the only true Christians. Any other group out there that calls themselves Christians, oh no, they are false religion, because Jehovah God is not using their organization to speak to his people. When Joseph Rutherford had people back in the day walking up and down the streets with placards that said, or signs that said religion is a snare and a racket. That was a time when they considered themselves not a religion, but something a bit different. Okay. Today, especially since they go to court and want to claim their freedom of religion, it's a good idea to be a religion at that time. It's a good idea to call themselves a religion at that time. But Jehovah's Witnesses used to picket in front of the Catholic Church with these signs: religion is a snare and a racket. And I've even heard that they would go in with their little tracts and give them to people that are sitting there in church. Oh my God. This is by the direction of Rutherford. Not Russell. Russell had coal porters. So basically, he hired salespeople that would end up making money off of what they sold. And I think it's amazing that Russell came up with something to where every one of us had to have not that we had to, we wanted to have a subscription to the Watchtower and the Awake. And anytime a new book came out, we wanted to have that too, because it was presented to us as, meat in due season. It was presented to us as God speaking to us through his literature. So we would get 2 Watchtowers a month mailed to our homes, and everybody in the family would have their own subscription. So it wouldn't just be, showing up for the whole family. Everybody in the house, let's say it's a family of 5, everybody had their own subscription. And it wasn't all that expensive. But what I found out from Randall Waters, because he was once at Bethel, at that time, it cost the organization maybe 4 to 5 cents to make a Watchtower. But we were going out door to door, asking for a contribution of 20 cents. And then later it went up to a quarter. So the organization literally made their money off of us as followers first. And if every single follower had to have a subscription, then we bought Watchtowers and Awake from the literature portion of the Kingdom Hall so that we could go out door to door and place them. That's a pretty good scam. But if you're a believer that this is the way Jehovah is talking to you, then that's wise. It's wise. If you're a believer that Faithful and Discreet Slave are speaking to us and passing on the message from Jehovah, then that's wise, right? If an elder asks you, do you still believe Jehovah is using this organization? And you say, no, but I still believe in God. You have just disassociated yourself. Part of the doctrine of Watchtower is you have to believe in this governing body as being a channel that God is using to speak to his people. In mainstream Christianity, there is some of that out there. But within mainstream, let me just back up a little bit. Within the organization, whatever the belief system is, you are to believe all of it, okay? And if there's an adjustment or a clarification or whatever it's going to be called, a doctrinal change, we have to then believe in this new teaching or this new view of it. And we have to believe all of it. Within mainstream Christianity, there's something called the essentials, about 8 to 11 doctrines that most mainstream Christians will believe in. But around that, there's called a group of doctrines that are called non-essentials. And if you ever tune into Jay Hess's show every other Sunday on 6 screens, he'll mention this: essentials and non-essentials. So within Christianity, the rapture, or however we would end up in paradise or in heaven with Jehovah. Within mainstream Christianity, they have a belief system of the rapture, which is when they would be lifted up upon Jesus's return. So some people believe before Armageddon happens, they will be raptured. Other Christians believe during the middle of Armageddon, they would be raptured. And other people believe that after Armageddon, they would be raptured. And they get to disagree on these things because it's a non-essential. So we can have different viewpoints on the non-essential doctrines within Christianity. But within the organization, it's not that way. And the fact that the doctrines do change, I believe, is strategic, because if it's like you can't get your footage to stand with security, things can change and you might not notice. And you'll hear people often say, so what's the latest that we believe now? So the changing of different doctrines or clarifications. For instance, there was a time when the organization taught that receiving an organ replacement was forbidden by God, okay? And some of the articles that were put out were similar to some of the articles you might remember as far as blood transfusions. And that would be that if someone accepted a liver from as an organ donation, they would then take on the personality of the previous person that had this liver. So there was that. And then one day it was okay for Jehovah's Witnesses to have to have an organ replacement. So those that died because they turned away these organ replacements, why was it not okay then and then it's okay at this certain time? Because if God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, why would God have different viewpoints on organ transplants? And why would we even need to be directed by a leadership of an organization? Why could that not be our own conscience to make that choice? You see what I'm saying? When you're in a destructive cult, you're being micromanaged. Every other thing, you will doubt yourself because you're not sure how it's supposed to be handled or your behavior should be. So when you're in a group of people where you have much more choice on your own, where you get to really use your own conscience, it's freer. It's not as high control, high demand, is what I'm stating. Yeah. So these are things to think about if you even get involved in the PTA, which is parent-teacher conferences from the school your kid might go to. If there's somebody in leadership that decides there's a whole ton of rules you got to go by, you might be able to keep up with it all, or you might decide to not be involved in that anymore. In the organization, our life depended on it. If we did not follow the governing body, we were not going to survive Armageddon. That's just the way it was. I have to take a potty break. And I'm going to still listen, but are you able to?
I will do my best.
You don't have to talk about what the subject you were talking about, but...
Guys, go easy on me, all right?
Go easy on Matthew, please. But I'll still be listening.
Okay, so
I'm going to be
Grow, give me a hint. Guys. What can I talk about and what can't I talk about? Okay, so Amber is being advised by the community to go to, is it JW Facts Hold on, let's go back. Let's take a look. There we go. Grow says you need to be on JW Facts. It's an Amber thing. So, Amber, how do we answer you? Yeah, it goes back to publications a lot of persons didn't have access to. You might have been in a congregation that had the old books like the 1879 Watchtower volumes and the old Golden Age magazines, the IBSA yearbooks, things like that. So like the congregation that I was in, it had all of that stuff meticulously kept. The other thing too is some branches also had those libraries. South Africa branch also had that information. So you would be able to go back and you'd be able to read about Pleiades and all of that. Okay. Grow, I have many old books. Yeah. I've got the actual writing desk 1879 volumes, all of those kind of things. You have the entire studies in the scriptures. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So there are various ones. There's various editions of those studies in the scriptures. Yeah, very interesting. Happy thoughts. Amber, we all have different interests. No one is greater than another. Yeah, so we must respect each other in the community. Then we've got Debbie is a smart cookie from Thrifty Treasure. Yes, we see that. By the way, I'm an empath. Have remote viewed, a medium, psychic, etc. So you've tried this, hey? Hey, there we go. So we've got Debbie, who's got the natural ability, and we've got Amber, who has done the controlled stuff. And then JW Suicide's not gone to that site for years. It was great. Yeah, what's that? JW Facts, eh? Debbie Moore, they told me we placed the magazines, not sell them. I argued if we asked them to buy them by asking them for money, how is that different from selling them? My 5-year-old brain figured out that scam. Yeah, there we go. Where else? JW Suicides. Blimey, Matthew. Thank you for the JW Pleiades link. Oh, yeah. It's an Amber thing. I must be the most ignorant of all ex-JWs. No. Nope. And what about this thing? The more you learn, the more you realize that you don't know anything. Okay? That's not just a standard humble thing to say. It's just you realize, man, we're not even scratching the surface. Yeah. Dallas, Debbie, you're so knowledgeable. Yep, I agree. Thank you, Dallas. And Dallas, thanks always for your chipping in and keeping it real and keeping it upbeat. We really appreciate it. I appreciate you, Dallas. Really do. And Apostle Babe, Linda James, jwfacts.com. Okay, thank you, Linda James, for putting that in there. What else in the comments? Let's see. Going back. Happy thoughts. That's why there are so many religions, so people are under one domination, but coming from different angles. Well, I suppose, what is it? The Quran coming from the Vatican, for instance. Hey, how about that? Dallas, Thrifty JWWT is an American sect and endorses far-right American Judeo-Christian values in certain ways. So that surprises some. Yeah. And then I think we have more or less caught up. Is there anybody else I've missed out? John Marciano is keeping it real, chipping in every now and then. Okay. What have we got here? Grow. Matthew, you should start your stream. You've been on Facts on JW6 screens. Yeah, but man, I'm recovering, bro. I mean, it's only recently I started talking again properly. I couldn't get words out. I was so blocked up and messed up, and I'm still messed up. So yeah, you got to realize something. I value this community very, very much because you're ahead of the recovery, far ahead. Still pretty messed up. I mean, I'm on having to deal with pain and all sorts of things. So yeah. But I appreciate all of those various 6 screens and network and all of that. You're talking now? Yeah, I am. Now I can't shut up. I was resigned to die, bro, and I was kind of thinking I've done my time. I'm okay with fading off the scene. But you know, life has surprises for us, and we reassert ourselves, eh? So sometimes our lives are beyond what our own will to live is. It's if you want to call it a higher power or supreme consciousness or God, yeah. Thank you, Happy Thoughts. Well, you also help break through things. You going around connecting to all these various networks and seeing who's coming out and helping with trauma and all this. It's an Amber thing. Matthew, how long were you in the org? I was baptized 1991. How's that? That's when I was officially baptized. How long was I an elder? I was an elder 25 years. Matthew's music is also cool. Well, thank you for that. I used that music when I didn't have a voice. That was what the music was about. And John Marciano, thank you also. You also been massive, massive support, keeping it real and telling us how it really works. Purple, I tried to end myself twice, only proved this physical shell is much more resilient than I thought. Man, these are hard lessons, but thank you for that, Purple. There'll be more, Amber. I was in JW from 1961 till 2006. Even though I questioned it all my life, I stopped believing in 1993, but stayed a PMO till 2006, till both parents passed. Yeah. Amber, I've been out 20 years now. JW Suicides, mad as a baby, laugh out loud, just teasing you. I was 1986. There we go. Well, thanks, guys. We really appreciate that. 53, I got hugs and kisses there. And a heart. There we go. Amber thing. I'm going back and get obliterated on TikTok for not knowing. Nah. Are they that merciless on TikTok? Yeah. Matt, do you still live quietly at the branch? No, I don't live at the branch anymore. And I was sort of cut off and pulled back because I think it was because I connected the elders to the police. I think that's what happened. I just I had exhausted Matthew 18. I had been patient, and eventually people who were witnesses were getting tired and exhausted with the nonsense from elders, and I had to connect to the police. I just said, right, I've had enough. You guys are not cooperating. And I think that's what has put me into this weird situation where I'm still connected, but I don't live at the branch. All right, what can we talk about now? John, so was I. I was born 2nd of the 10th, 1961. Grow, I wasn't even born in the 60s. Laugh out loud. And Amber Thing, you spreading lots of love. Thank you very much for that. Great talk. Much love to you all. Good night. Well, Amber, thank you for joining us, and good having you with us, and all the best with exploring the Pleiadians. Much respect to you. Happy to hang in that long. And our Apostle Babe is covertly, chiming in from behind the scenes. I was born 64, the last year of being a boomer. Good night, Amber. Good night. Yeah. So, folks, what was the theme? What are we discussing? I'm heading into Grow. You lasted longer than we thought. I thought you were going to go to bed a lot sooner than this. Purple. Good night. John Marciano. Parents joined the organization 1972. Debbie Moore. I must be the oldest one here. Are you? Okay. All right. Good night, Grow. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for chiming in. And telling old Matt Wynn to shut up. Yeah. Okay. So come on, folks, give me some clues. What can we talk about? What would you like to talk about? What's on your minds? Besides telling Grow good night. And Amber. Dallas, how long have you been supporting all of these networks? You get around a lot. How long have you been doing this for? Healing people through these chats and things. Have you been doing it for a long time? Born JW. Hi, everyone. Hello, Born JW. Welcome to the channel. When did you pop up? You've popped up now. And thank you also, Born, for your comments and your support on the various channels. John Marciano, Mormon Church picked a new leader almost as old as their last leader. Why no younger men? Yeah, I wonder. Happy thoughts. Hi, Born. Have you just got up? Gone 7 a.m. in the UK, hung in for Matthew's words. Oh, dear. Well, JW Suicide, thanks for the encouragement. Appreciate that. Appreciate that a lot. Thrifty Treasure, hello, Born. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Dallas. That's Born JW. So I get it that the community is just enjoying the sense of community. So that says a lot. So it doesn't always have to be academic. It doesn't always have to be, about the occult or the deeper things or whatever. It's about the sense of community, eh? Sheila, so somebody knows who's who here. So Sheila, yes, so glad that you're around. And also thank you too for chiming in encouragingly on the various channels around cyberspace. Linda James, I've heard that getting the internet there in Africa is not easy, but yours is pretty good. Why is that? Because we got fiber. We had it installed. Yeah, because IDS always chooses the eldest member for their leader. Oh, that's it. Matthew, you made a good video recently, Born JW. Oh, yeah, which video was that? Did I actually make a good thing? Well, I'm glad you found it good. Dallas, what you cooking this week? What is Dallas known for his cooking skills? Born JW, I'm going to have to watch it again. Well, thanks for watching to begin with, Born JW. I appreciate that. JW Suicides, I'll sleep soon. Well, if this is helping you to sleep, may you be blessed with good sleep. Postibade, right on. Thrifty, I don't know yet. Oh, sound of silence. So Linda James, you just left me to run your run your show. I love your profile picture. Yeah. Yeah, we know your plan here, Linda James. You're gonna duck out. That's it. Thrifty Treasure, don't fall asleep in the chat. And Happy Thoughts, there's quite a few from the UK on the various chats. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Oh. Born JW, when you touched on the whole brothers that will die. Oh, yes. Oh, man. So I think that's just something that is said. It's a useless platitude, isn't it? But I mean, yeah, I know I would have died for the brothers. I know that. But is it the other way around? So it's leverage. Hey? It's one of these things that sounds great, but in practice is a different thing altogether. Linda James is giving us hope. She's going to be back soon, folks. Okay. Happy Thoughts. LORS on Rick's show. Yeah, there we go. Born. Laugh out loud. Linda AI representing what's in my head. Oh, have we got Linda James AI? Debbie Moore, you will survive the loud silence, Matthew. Okay, thank you. I will survive that. Opening. Loon in Sound of Silence. Hilch darkness, my old friend. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Yeah. I'll just take a nap, Debbie Moore. I'll just shut down just now. You'll find me napping on live broadcast. Was Dallas talking about JW Facts? That's a lively channel. Full of jokes. It's light-hearted. We need that. Happy thoughts. Yeah, I've been up all night. I've got a sleep problem. Thanks to guess what organization. But I'm glad you got a couple of hours in. That's good. Linda James.
Nature called at a different time than I'm used to.
Listen, that was the longest we. John Marciano, what time is it? It is now 8:15. Debbie Moore, yes, it is all right to call me Matt. Yeah, you're more than welcome.
So the holidays are coming up. And those of you that, if your conscience is okay with it, I'll be coming up with some ways that we can celebrate either Halloween or the Halloween holiday. Thanksgiving, which is something Americans celebrate near the end of November. And then even Christmas. So I'll be giving you guys some ideas of how we can celebrate it, and only if it's okay with your conscience. If it's not, then I'm not here to talk you into it. But if you're at a place where you're entertaining the idea of celebrating it and your conscience feels okay with it, I'm going to share a few ideas that I've came up with over the years. And basically, it's about us starting our own traditions, because we just don't know how to do holidays, okay? We just don't know, you know? It's very awkward for us, you know? But if we have some options we can choose from, or we can get creative and come up with suggestions for each other, you know, we can bring those things to the table. Like, for instance, Halloween is coming up, and some people don't want to touch it at all. It represents dead, it represents demons, and I get that. But if you have small children and they are, I thought I was on the screen, I'm sorry. They are, you know, maybe wanting to get dressed up, or you want to get them an outfit or whatever. There's places that you can go where you can feel safe about the candy that's being distributed. And a lot of times churches will have things happening at their church. So they might have like a jumpy thing where kids get on, like a castle that got all blown up and can go down the slides, or different things. There's something called trunk or treat, where people from the church will go in the parking lot, open up their trunks, and they've got different candy in there. And the kids get to walk around the parking lot, you know, and show off their little costumes, you know. And you don't have to pick a costume of like a witch or something demon-like. You could pick a Bible character. I've been a Jesus freak, and I've been Job. And I was once Tina Turner. And I was the devil with the blue dress on. So there's different things you can do to where you don't have to go buy an expensive costume, and it doesn't have to be demon related. And if you don't want to do it at all, no problem. You know, I'm fine with that too. But there's always this thing about, we tell our kids don't take candy from strangers, so why are we going to send them to a house where a stranger lives to get candy? It just seems so counterintuitive, right? Just seems right. And sometimes malls or shopping centers will stay open late, and the different stores will have candy that they want to give out, plus like coupons of their store and stuff. So I used to work on Main Street in Huntington Beach, and they would literally close down about 5 blocks from the pier, 5 blocks in. So all of the stores and different restaurants and stuff, and I was in a hair salon at the time, we would stay open for that night so that the kids could show up and be able to go up and down that street, and there'd be a band somewhere in the middle of the street, or just different things. And it was very quaint, and it was safe, and so, and we could come up with a costume to wear on the show. You could show it off. And I've told my girls that for the most part, we need to pay attention to not showing our cleavage. But there are 2 occasions where it is appropriate. And that would be like special occasion events. If we're wearing a certain kind of gown, that might be okay. Or Halloween. So those are like the 2 times.
Halloween.
Yeah, so you can dress up as a different person. It's not their
I thought
daily.
you were going to say the beach, though.
Oh, okay. And then my son, I told him cleavage isn't all that good to show too, because young men of today let the backside of their jeans fall, okay, and their little butt crack. There's cleavage too. So.
All right. Okay.
So he has made a point of making sure his boxers are always up and not showing his cleavage, but he still has that kind of draggy pants thing, because that's just the look.
Right. Yeah. I too have had to look after houses filled with children.
You did?
Oh yeah.
You had to look at. I remember you mentioning, like, you ended up kind of taking in like 3 kids, maybe.
I had terrors, absolute terrors. They were something else. One of them's now an instructor for the organization. Go figure.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he was the worst.
Oh wow. Terrors for kids. Yeah. Okay. Something that different personalities have different ways about them. I'll tell you what. Debbie Moore, Linda, I don't mind giving out candy. I'm okay with that, but not the love of death and devils and demons. Yeah, and see the Latin culture on after Hallows Eve, Halloween, the day after that they do a celebration of the dead. And it sounds gory, it sounds creepy, but they have all these different customs, and it's a time of them remembering their loved ones that have passed on. And it's very it's supposed to be something very honoring to those that have passed on. I did not grow up with this culture. I kind of don't relate to it, but I've seen it, and when I see displays of it and stuff, it seems a little creepy, but I can also see the reverence of those that have passed on. And I think that, like, I've seen some people send balloons to heaven for those that might have died too young. And they kind of gather together, family members, and have a time of remembering whoever that was, and send certain kind of balloons, because some balloons, if they're made from aluminum or whatever, they shouldn't hit the wires. It's a bad day if that happens. But it's a symbolic kind of thing. If someone is in heaven, of course, they're not going to literally get those balloons, but it's symbolic, and it's like a release of doves at a wedding even. So again, we can come up with our own traditions that we made. For instance, when my kids were little, we might have had a turkey, or we might have had turkey pot pies. Okay. So, like, 98-cent or 89-cent pot pies, or whatever we had to eat. And I added the tradition of taking communion because at the time I was okay with taking communion. Um, so whatever drink we had on the table and whatever form of bread we had on the table, it would be representing Jesus's flesh and Jesus's blood. But it ended up turning into not that anymore, and it just turned into a thing of what are we thankful for in each other. So it turned out to be like that. And it's pretty cool to have a time where you get to express with your family or your friends or whoever what you are thankful for with them.
Well, Linda James, these comments are now talking cleavage, Brazilian butt lifts, and all sorts of things now. This is what's happened now.
I love this audience. You guys are so awesome. So, as a hairdresser, full-on cosmetologist, I could do hair, I could do skin, and I could do nails and toes. So I was trained to do a Brazilian wax. And that is a cleaning up of a lady's kitty cat area, so that when she wears a bathing suit or something, she just can present herself with a more cleaner look.
Thrifty treasure. Ouch.
I know, right? I know. It would be done with wax, yeah. Intention is everything. Also one of the 3 basics of remote viewing. Okay. Let's see here. Purple, get the Brazilian butt lift jeans. They make those things too.
Purple doesn't need it.
How do we know this, Matthew?
Because Purple's been very clear.
Oh, I see. She can be descriptive. Yes, she can.
Says, I don't need the help there. My butt looks damn good, especially for a woman my age.
Oh my gosh, I missed that one. Good for you, Purple. Yeah, I love it when I hear a confident woman. Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah, no, I got that message loud and clear.
Treasure, I think butt cleavage is wrong, no matter how nice an ass someone has. Well, I just wasn't going to have one of those sons.
I'm trying to see Thrifty Treasure's little emoji there on the manscaping as a thing, Matthew. Yeah.
Is manscaping a thing? Are you familiar with what that means?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thrifty Treasure, but I'm sure if I didn't, that your audience would soon jump right in. Let's explain it, Matt. Maybe I should have done that. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm lost.
Dehydrated nurse says, my grandmother said, my honey mustard dressing tastes like Outbacks. I think the crushed red pepper brought it over the edge. Oh, damn.
Wow.
Your grandma's hot. Okay, she's hot. I'm kind of impressed.
JW Suicide's Victorian orgasm. What's it going to take to close down your YouTube channel, Linda James?
This stuff's probably okay.
Is it? It's going to get through.
I mean, if our president can, grab somebody by the kitty cat and they love it, I'm sure this will be okay.
So Linda James's YouTube channel should be up and running for years to come.
I hope so. Dallas, you're too funny. I don't like the idea of waxing because of pain. Sweetheart, neither do I. But when it comes to eyebrows, it's kind of cool because we do it on top and we do it here and we get it over with, and it's got Nice shaped
Okay.
eyebrows. It was so funny when a bonus daughter of mine, meaning someone that I've adopted since she was young, took me today and brought me home. So we're in the car and I'm putting my makeup on the way there. I'm telling you, my makeup was like I had eyebrow up to here. Putting on my eyeliner, it was like I could not believe the way my makeup turned out. It was hilarious.
Debbie Moore, Matt, were the 3 kids you raised your biological kids? No. They were abandoned children, and I had to find their nearest living relatives, which I did. And
How
that
how
was
long
it. But
did you have?
I raised them like they were mine while I had them.
Yeah.
And
Linda Lowton said, I'd rather go through child labor again than have another wax. You know what? I gave birth to 3 children with no help from pain medication. And
wow.
when I got these dentures and my mouth had to build up a bit of it's like having a blister
Okay.
on your heel, that it's not going to be okay until it heals and builds a bit of a callus. So if you're a guitar player, you'll know that your fingers have to callus up. So my mouth had to get to a place. To me, waiting for my mouth to be able to accept these dentures was worse pain than giving birth to my 3 children without
Good
any
grief.
medication. It was I had a friend call up and wanted to take me out. And I'm like, I made baby Oragel my best friend at the time. We just
Wow.
don't know.
Hectic.
Why point of waxing the area you mentioned, Linda? So ladies will sometimes their legs will have a natural area of that their natural hair there between their legs will kind of grow down onto their legs as well as what's naturally there in their private area. So rather
Okay.
than wearing a bathing suit and having some of it grow down on their legs, we get rid of that and just have it where it looks like it's supposed to remain. That's why. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the point of that.
Your channel goes on to all sorts of brave subjects, Linda James. It's
You know what?
it's incredible.
I think today I have no shame. It's very rare somebody can.
Is
that I
it
have
you?
no word.
I don't think you can take all the blame there. I put it squarely on the chat here.
We got some
You know,
worldly
it's
folks.
all by design.
We have some worldly folks up in here in this audience, and I love it.
Good.
Treasure, that was cute.
Great.
And Beverly, kidney stones are as painful as labor pains. I have heard this, and I have fortunately not struggled with this, but I believe you, Beverly. Ah, yeah, that's a tough one, Purple. I know of a gal that there's a square file that's usually the last file used at the end of doing nails. So it's a little bit on the softer side, and that would be something that would be used kind of just on the skin. I'm not sure if you've seen that. They can wear men's swimwear. Yes, you're right. They can, but they don't look feminine when they wear men's swimwear. Some women want to not look masculine when they're wearing their swimwear. I personally have never worn a bikini because I've never felt that my body was okay to wear one. And Purple says, My ex passed a kidney stone the size of a grain of rice. She told me that that was worse than delivering either of her daughters. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what I've heard. This is totally what I've heard. People's pain, like for me, I'm in pain daily. My lower back, that whatever's in between my bones has disintegrated. So I used to be 5'11". I'm now 5'8" because of what's disintegrated in between my bones. And so I have lower back pain all the time. And it's very painful if I'm standing up. But when I'm sitting down like this, I'm in no pain. So I've always never had a problem doing the show, which is great.
Sorry, that's rough. There's a Dr. Jennifer Daniels, controversial doctor, I guess, but she goes into maybe, you know what? I can't talk about it on YouTube.
Okay.
Sorry, I started and now I've had to stop. But yeah, Dr.
I've
Jennifer
done
Daniels.
the same thing. Okay. Dr. Jennifer
I'm getting
Daniels.
too comfortable.
But you know what? I've caught myself too. I begin to say something and then I realize, oh, yeah, I don't think I want to go any further with that. There's not a problem with that. Dehydrated Nurse, I recently made my own mayonnaise. Oh, that's so cool. I love doing things from scratch. I'm weird like that. My granddaughter didn't get the gene. You know what gene I have not gotten? Is a green thumb. I don't have a green thumb. Put a plant in here, it's going to die. It's just going to die. Okay? Unless I get an air fern, it's going to die. Beverly Linda says back surgery? ? To alleviate your pain. Possibly. Yeah. So mayo is good for hair. Okay. Yeah. It's dangerous disc disease, osteo. Yeah. Giving me severe lower back pain and hip pain. Dehydrated Nurse is saying 35 years of nursing has given me severe lower back pain and hip pain. It's easing up when I sit down as well. I'll tell you what, during the time of C19, she would keep us, Miss Dehydrated Nurse would keep us kind of, she started off with like, I think 30. She was taking care of, like, I'm sure it was her and a few other nurses. And I remember it got to a point of, like, I think down to 16 or 15. And it was, she double masked every day at work. And then it ended up where her job was influencing her to take the shot. Homemade mayonnaise is more flavorful, yes. So Linda Lawton said, try Bowen therapy. Okay. I'm sure there are providers in your area, miracle workers. It was introduced to such, okay, through the JWs, okay. I'm screenshotting that. Thank you. Thank you, Linda. Dehydrated Nurse said, I'm 32. C19 patients. Just me, no other nurse. Okay. Wow. Is that a signed droid in the new Star Wars movie? C19 is short for the full word of during the pandemic, what that virus was called.
Your audience is baiting you here.
Happy Thought said, at one stage of my life, I ran a boarding kennels. Oh, dogs pulling on their Oh, wow. Messed up my neck. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so you're familiar with JW Suicide is familiar with the Bowen therapy. I'm telling you, you guys are amazing. I've never heard of this. Never ever heard of this. And both like there's two people in the chat that know about it. Yeah, mayonnaise. To make it from to make it from scratch. What is that? Oil and eggs? Is that the two main ingredients? Dehydrated nurse? Oh my God, Purple, you're too funny. Oh my God. Purple says, I had to tell my support group that we were a terrorist cell. Not one person there was aware of it. Yes, I know. Yes, I know.
I can hear the popo now.
Right? Sirens are happening under Trump's declaration that we are a terrorist group. Yes. Yeah. It's just ridiculous. But that's what's being said. It's amazing. So it is like 2:41, so I'm going to be closing up in about the next 15 minutes.
Okay.
And is
How
there
long have we been on, Linda James?
2 hours and 41 minutes.
Been good going.
Yeah, I think so.
Have you got any last messages for your audience?
That's what I was asking you. If you have anything you wanted to share before we say goodnight.
I would always say I'm very grateful to the community. Thank you for keeping it fun. When it got heavy, you were able to change the direction, and I think that's good for the mind. We need that. So good company, but also, it can be serious at times, but then also just the free flow. That's also great. So thank you very much, Linda James, for letting me come onto your show and be a part of this community. I really appreciate that, and also very grateful to the community as well for their diving in and chipping in, and some familiar faces to me and some that have been also supporting my channel. I'm also glad to see you here and be with you here. So thank you very, very much. So I'm going to sign off as you close your program, Linda James. I think I'll listen to your wise words and look forward again, if I'm permitted, next time.
Yes, I've been enjoying you joining me. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Good night.
Go well, everybody, and we shall see you soon. Thank you very much. Good to be with you all. See you in the chat.
Okay. Debbie says for you to get some sleep. Thanks, Linda and Matthew. Appreciate the chat. I'll tell you what, I love the stuff you guys bring up. Debbie Moore says, I'm always in pain. Also have osteoporosis all over my body. Limited use of shoulders and arms and hands. Take turmeric. Yes, and other natural things. That turmeric is an anti-inflammatory. Yes. Purple is mentioning about how she took the vaccine and caught it multiple times, but at least it kept it from getting bad enough to put me in the hospital, which was the purpose of that. Unfortunately, Dehydrated Nurse had a very bad allergic reaction, and that was horrible for her. And Born JW, it's good to see you here today. I really love the things you share here. Happy Thoughts. I've been seeing your comments all over the place. And you have a lot of wisdom, girlfriend. I'm assuming you're a woman. I'm going to go with you're a woman. If you're not, correct me, okay? And JW Suicides, I freaking adore you. Oh, well, I have something to show you. Because my bonus daughter gave me a microphone, and I've been entertaining the idea of like putting on like YouTube songs to do karaoke, right? And I was just going to sing through this, and but it doesn't have like a little bit of a way that I can manipulate the sound to have a bit of an echo or something. This has echo, and it's like this little mic that I can turn on. I charge it, and it works. I'm like, I want this, and she gave it to me. So I'm going to have some fun with this and sing with this with some YouTube music and see how it turns out. Let me see if I can turn it on right now. And by the way, I charge it with I think a C battery, the C plug-in thing. Oh my. Oh my. It's all lighting up all cool. Look at that. And the echo's on. Let's see. Hello, hello, hello. Volume. Hello. Oh, that sounds a bit more echoey. So it has the echo on it. And when you have just a little bit of that echo, and when you sing, when you have some of that echo, it just gives it a fuller sound. So I'm super thrilled that I got this from my bonus daughter. And I've always called her my redheaded stepchild because she was a redhead for so long. I'm going to turn this off. But she's been a blonde now for the last 5 years. So we were trying to come up with another nickname for her. But that turned it off. Okay, that turned it back on. And so she came up with, how about hashtag favorite? I'm like, okay. So I called all 3 of my bio kids. I was like, would you be okay if I used the nickname hashtag favorite? And I haven't heard back from my son, but my 2 daughters are cool with it. Just as long as I don't put hashtag favorite on like Facebook or something. So that was kind of cool. I kind of like that nickname, hashtag favorite. Do a show that you sing like for to sing. Yeah, I'm hoping to share a few songs even like here with you guys, because I always break into song on all kinds of stuff. So why the hat tonight? I wore it earlier. My hair was thinning very much. I colored it tonight, so I got rid of the gray, and then I dried it, and it was just like so thin. I'm seeing my scalp. So it felt better to have a hat on. And thank you, John. He's saying, do a show that you sing, Linda. That's going to be cool. Dallas, the teaching of leaving relatives and friends for the good news that you'll have 100-fold more now and in the afterlife. There's no substitute for your real family. This is true. And the real purpose of a destructive, high-controlled, high-demand cult is to replace your real family. That's the bottom line. They can have all these different doctrines, all kinds of stuff, but the techniques and tactics that are used is to get you away from your family, bio family, if they're not believers, and to replace themselves to be your family. That's the main purpose. And if you ask me, that's pretty deceptive. And Happy Thought says, I absolutely agree, Dallas. True family and friends, yes. Yes. You guys are awesome. Yeah, so it was fascinating what Matthew was talking about. This controlled, I took notes. Controlled, I'm not even going to try to say it because I'm going to forget. But I'm going to probably end now, which is 10 minutes earlier than usual. But today I got up earlier than usual to get myself ready to go hang out with a other previous Jehovah's Witnesses, and it was really a cool thing. We need community. We need to know our neighbors. I mean, if you don't get along with them and they're toxic or whatever, I'm not saying hang out with that, but get to know as many people as you can in person. Because in my opinion, the government is trying to pit us against each other. And if we find ourselves in some form of a crisis and we don't have others that are in our lives, there's a really horrible sense of defeat. And we as JWs kind of don't even know how to make friends and keep them. But this is actually a time of year that you can make some cookies and bring them over to your neighbors and say, I thought you might like these home-baked cookies. Or for that matter, bought cookies, okay? Buy them from the store, put them on a cool looking paper plate or whatever. Put a little bit of a topping on it, kind of a clear wrap or whatever. Bring it over and say, I thought you'd like this. And ask them if we can have a cup of coffee sometime in the future. You know, so can we have a cup of coffee and visit a little bit in the future? Just open that up and see if that's something they'd be okay with. And you'll be able to tell usually that they would be okay with it, or if they're a very standoffish person. And if they're not wanting to welcome you in, just respect their privacy and stuff. But this is something that many of us need to work on, just because when we were in the org, whoever was a Jehovah's Witness was an instant friend. We didn't have to develop a friendship and keep the friendship. It was just instant. So those kind of things we didn't learn how to do. So we can learn how to do it now. And we don't have to have that sense of obligation that we need to recruit them into whatever our belief system is today. They can be them and we can be us, you know? So I just wanted to say thank you for everybody that showed up here tonight in the chat. And thank you, Matthew, for joining me. And I had a really good time with this show tonight. I ended up getting me a cup of coffee before the show started. I'm glad I did. And anybody who listens to this show later on at another time, I appreciate you as well. And I will be seeing you guys next Saturday at the same time, 9 p.m. for Southern California, which is Pacific Standard Time, on next Saturday night. And I will talk with you all later. Good night, all.
I never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm